Welcome to the Deep Dive. You're probably hearing all sorts of things about the housing market right now, maybe from friends, maybe in the news. It can feel like a real puzzle.
It absolutely can. So our goal today is to take some solid info, analysis from Sarah and Brandon Arlington, plus the latest data from Zillow and Realtor.com, and really clarify what's happening, both nationally and regionally, so you can get a much clearer picture.
Yeah, and one of the first things that, really stood out from the Arlington's piece is this idea of a tale of two markets. It's just not the same everywhere, is it?
No, not at all. Some places still have that intense pressure cooker feel for buyers, but then in other areas, things seem to be, well, shifting a bit.
Okay, so maybe define those terms first. Buyer's market, seller's market. What do the Arlingtons say?
Right. So the Arlingtons lay it out pretty clearly. A buyer's market basically means more homes available than folks looking to buy. Simple as that.
And that means homes sit longer, more negotiating power for buyers.
Exactly. Homes tend to sit on the market longer, and buyers often find they have a bit more leverage. When it comes to price, maybe the terms of the deal.
Okay. And the flip side, seller's market.
That's when you've got fewer homes than interested buyers. So naturally, that creates competition.
Which leads to faster sales, maybe multiple offers, higher prices.
Precisely. Quicker sales, often those bidding wars we heard so much about. And yeah, prices can get pushed up as buyers compete. Okay, so maybe we should start with the big picture nationally.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's look at that Zillow data first. They have that National Market Heat Index, right?
Yeah, they do. And it's pretty telling. It runs on a scale 0 to 100. Higher numbers mean sellers have the advantage.
And what's it showing?
Well, if you look at their graph, roughly 2020 through early 2022, those orange bars, the market was definitely tilted towards sellers. They had a big advantage.
But things have changed.
Yeah. Look at the more recent data, the gray bars on the right. You see the index moving towards a more neutral zone.
So less intense. The seller advantage isn't as strong.
Exactly. It's cooled off somewhat. That strong edge sellers has lessened.
Could things like interest rates play into that too, affecting buyers?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great point. While the index is mostly about supply and demand balance, higher interest rates definitely cool buyer demand, which, contributes to that shift we're seeing towards neutral.
So what does this balancing mean practically for someone looking to buy?
Well, like the Arlington article points out, in a more neutral or balanced market, homes tend to stay listed longer.
Fewer bidding wars, maybe.
Yeah, that frenzy seems to be less common now. And importantly, sellers might be more willing to offer concessions.
Concessions like what exactly?
Things like price reductions, maybe helping out with closing costs, possibly covering repairs or offering, appliance warranties, stuff like that. It just opens up more possibilities for buyers.
Okay, so nationally, maybe a little less frantic for buyers. But as I said, it's a tale of two markets. National averages can hide a lot.
They really can, which is why we need to dig into those regional differences. The Realtor.com data on inventory is really illuminating here.
Right, that inventory data. How many homes are actually for sale?
Exactly. And this is where that tale of two markets idea really pops. The Realtor.com data shows how inventory has changed across different regions.
They compare year over year and also back to pre-pandemic levels, right?
Yep. The blue bars on their graph show the year-over-year change, and the red bars compare it to 2017, 2019 levels before all the craziness.
And the differences are big.
Oh, yeah, quite dramatic. Look at the South and the West. Big jumps in available homes over the past year.
How big?
40.3% year-over-year increase in the South and 31.1% in the West.
Wow. So what does that suggest for buyers in those areas?
Well, connecting back to our definitions, these big inventory increases strongly suggest those regions are shifting more towards buyers' markets, just like the Arlington article talked about.
More choice, maybe less price pressure.
That's the idea. More homes available means buyers have more options, and there's potentially less upward pressure on prices. And interestingly, inventory levels in the South and West are actually getting pretty close to where they were pre-pandemic.
Really? Almost back to normal levels.
Almost. South is only down 3.2% compared to pre-pandemic. West just 2.1% down. It might suggest, with maybe more building down there too, that this could be a more sustained trend for buyers in those regions.
Okay, but that's the South and West. What about the Northeast and Midwest? A different story.
A very different story. If you look at those red bars again, The pre-pandemic comparison inventory is still way down.
How far down?
In the Northeast, it's still down a huge 57.5% compared to pre-pandemic. Even with an 11% year-over-year increase, the overall supply is just really limited.
In the Midwest, similar.
Pretty similar, yeah.
Okay.
Down 46.2% from pre-pandemic. They saw a bigger year-over-year jump, about 17.7%. But again, the overall number of homes for sale is still quite low compared to historical norms.
So those areas are probably still sellers markets then.
It strongly indicates that, yes, much more likely to remain sellers markets for now, which, again, fits perfectly with that regional analysis in the Arlington piece. It's almost like two separate housing realities unfolding.
So we've really got this split. Some areas seeing inventory bounce back, giving buyers more breathing room. Others still facing shortages, keeping sellers more in control.
Exactly. And it just hammers home the point that national headlines only give you like a very general overview.
Which brings us back to local knowledge, how crucial that is.
Absolutely critical. That's the main takeaway from the Arlingtons, really. The market isn't one single thing. Every local market, every town, even neighborhoods within a town can have its own distinct rhythm.
And that's where local real estate agents come in. Both the Arlingtons and Zillow actually emphasize this. There's that quote from Zillow.
Right, the one about agents being experts on their local markets, able to craft strategies tailored to local conditions.
Yeah, that one. So what makes that local insight so vital?
Well, like the Arlingtons highlight, local agents are just plugged in. They know the specific trends happening right there, right now.
They see the level of buyer competition firsthand.
Exactly. They understand the competition. They can help you find potential opportunities maybe hidden in broad searches. And critically, they understand recent sales data to help price a home correctly, whether you're buying or selling.
And negotiation, too, I imagine. That must depend heavily on local conditions.
Hugely important. A good local agent knows how to navigate that.
Yeah.
If your local market is leaning towards buyers, they know how to leverage that for you. If it's still tough for buyers, they can suggest strategies to make your offer stand out, hopefully without, just throwing money at it.
It really comes down to having someone who gets the nuances, the subtle shifts, right where you are planning to buy or sell.
Could you agree more? Whether you're thinking about buying, selling, moving across town, having someone with that deep local understanding is just invaluable. They help you build a strategy based on reality, not just national headlines.
So, bringing this back to you, the listener, especially if you're maybe thinking about a move, like the Arlingtons mentioned, the big takeaway isn't just the market's balancing nationally. It's really about drilling down, understanding your community.
Yeah. And that question the Arlingtons pose at the end of their article is perfect for that. What's one thing you're curious about when it comes to the market in our area?
That's a great starting point, isn't it? For your own thinking, or even a conversation with a local pro.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Key points seem to be: national market is transitioning, moving towards more balance overall.
But, and it's a big but, huge regional variations exist, mostly driven by how much housing inventory is actually available.
And making smart decisions, buying, selling, really hinges on understanding your specific local market dynamics.
Exactly. National trends give context, but your neighborhood, your town, it has its own story.
Right. So maybe a final thought for you to chew on.
Yeah.
Think about your own neighborhood for a second. What signs might you look for? The number of for sale signs, maybe how long they stay up, even chatter you hear from neighbors. What could tell you if things are leaning more towards buyers or sellers right where you live? What are those ground level clues?